Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast here. And we have major updates on the tropics here on the Atlantic. Invest San Diego has officially formed now in the Atlantic and very likely could become Tropical Storm Arthur. And the potential for actually making a landfall on the U.S. has actually increased. We have huge new updates on the formation, huge new updates on the tracking, but could potentially maybe skin the U.S. coast and the Carolinas and even Florida. Major updates on the winds, major updates on the cone, and all of that. So please watch the whole video. It's actually very, very interesting this time. And Invest San Diego can very likely become a tropical storm Arthur, or if not subtropical Arthur. But we have major updates in the tropic. This is going to brew the Atlantic. We are starting to see this Atlantic hurricane season begin early, and not even the Pacific has started yet. It starts tomorrow. So we have huge updates on this major Invest 90L. But without further ado, let's get in the video. Be sure to subscribe, though. We are one subscriber away from 2,300 subscribers, so please be that one special subscriber there. Also, be sure to share the channel and video. Without further ado, let's get in this video. So here we are looking at the National Hurricane Center, and here we have a confirmed Invest 90L here. This is our potential area of where it could potentially become a tropical storm or depression, most likely tropical storm, of course. And look, next 48 hours has a high of a 70% chance of forming as possibly a tropical storm here. Very, very likely we could be seeing this thing, a major system. Could either be subtropical storm or a tropical storm there. But the conditions are very favorable to see some development here in the brewing of the system. Here we have, this is actually where it has formed as an invest, but this is where it will possibly, or where it will form as a depression or a tropical storm. Of course, where it actually will be named, it will be in this area. So this is where you have, this is actually where it formed, and this is where it will form as a named system, most likely in that area within the next 48 hours. Here's the satellite imagery, and here you have the system right here. This is where we are. As you see, we do have also these brewing clouds. The thickness of these clouds is just north of Cuba, between the Key West. So actually, the Key West is actually seeing extremely heavy rain right now, and very dense cloud cover. As you do, we see these outer bands now stretching to the north. Actually, also going to be seeing these clouds extending. This is where we have that low pressure system. So this is where it is. Right? As you see, we have this perfect circular system right now. Perfect. This is actually a really good formation. Like, of course, we have the other cloud cover to the west or to the east, but this is where we are having right now. Most likely, the low pressure is right here, and here we have this brewing cloud cover. This dense cloud cover right now. So this is where we have it moving in the satellite imagery. And let's go ahead and check out the long wave. And of course, this is where it is right now. This formation is actually glitching out really. So this is where it is, of course. Actually, I don't know why I just used that yellow there. And this is where it is right. Oh my gosh, I did not change it. This is where it is right here, where that system or MS90L is. As we now look into the tracks here, and also the exactly going to be seeing the strength of it. As you do see, some models actually should be going into Florida. So this can possibly invest. When it is an invest, it will possibly make landfall, or it will skin Florida when it's an invest. But as you see, the tracks have moved west like a lot. We were actually expecting it just 2 days ago to move right over Bermuda, and now the tracks are all the way over here. So this very likely could impact Florida a lot more, and even North Carolina a lot more. So if you're in Florida, southern Florida, and the eastern coast of North Carolina, you definitely want to watch out, because here's actually our track. This is our potential track based on the models right here, just based on all of them right here. This is our track. And as you see, Florida is actually in that track. It won't make a landfall as a named system or even a tropical depression. It will make landfall, or it will go over land based on most of the models as an invest. So it's definitely be seeing a lot more flooding concerns. But this is where we have a track at 1,000 millibars by the next 48 hours, by the next 96 hours at 995 millibars, and then by later on, the next 120 hours, it's at 990 millibars. This could very likely become a major tropical storm actually when it moves into the northern Atlantic based on these models. As we now look into the intensity guidance, as you see, it does possibly become a tropical storm within the next 12 hours to all the way to the next 96 hours. So this is a huge time period. We only have 3 models on this system because it just became an Invest 90L not too long ago. But as we get more into tomorrow, we'll have many more models on this, but most of them do show it within the next 12 hours. So at least 16 hours to see this becoming a tropical storm. As you see, the models in the next 120 hours, when it does reach that 990 millibar range, 55 mile per hour, 55 knots. So this is definitely be seeing some decent wind here, as you can see. And then, as we do see, this is going to definitely possibly become a tropical storm. All these models that are on it should become a tropical storm. And then 66% of these models do show it in the next 12 hours. But as we do see, it's not going to be forming like all the way up like that. It's going to take a little bit of time to actually strengthen as it does go in cooler waters, and then it just yanks up and then it goes straight down. So this is basically our intensity guidance. We'll have to wait a bit more for more models to get on it to have more accurate information. But here we have Invest on the L right here in between Florida and Cuba. As you see, it is going to bring a ton of rain for Cuba and southern Florida. Like I said, the Key West is getting extremely heavy rain. And then it really does become a tropical storm, most likely, as it does hit the Bahamas. Like I said, it does affect the Florida areas a lot more when it's an invest, but as a tropical storm, it's going to be affecting the Bahamas a lot more. Look at it's one-sided. All the precipitation is to the west of this system. Here we have our low pressure system at 1,004 millibars, and it seems to go to the west a bit more. So basically, this is basically our track as of right now. It seems to go like out to the west, and then it just moves this way. As you can see, this is where it's going to start moving right that way. And as you see, it does now move to the east a lot, or to the west a lot more. It gets a lot closer now at 989 millibars. But the next 102 hours, this thing is going to strengthen a lot. And look how we now have rain on both sides. So we're going to be seeing a lot more defined vorticity. And extremely heavy rain will actually get a lot closer to the North Carolina coast in the GFS. So it seems like it's getting a lot closer to the North Carolina coast. After we check the CMC model, here it is. Bring that really heavy rain between Florida and Cuba, then it has affected Bahamas a lot, and it seems, of course, it actually is over land, the low pressure system, and it doesn't make a landfall, direct landfall where the eye was supposed to be, but we will be seeing, or the center of the system, but we'll see these outer bands affecting these areas. So go ahead and check out the rainfall totals here. As you do see, definitely be seeing a lot more rain, possibly 1 to 2 inches, but for parts of the Bahamas and far eastern Florida, can be seeing up to 3 to 5 inches, and then GFS is showing up to a foot of rain falling in between Bahamas and Cuba, and is not showing as much rain for North Carolina, as CMC is showing a lot closer. And then as we look into 10-meter winds here, this is actually going to really the impressive part. It's extremely different compared to yesterday. Here we have it to 32 knots here in between the Florida and Cuba area, that big blob of wind, and then here that defined low pressure system. That's where it can possibly see up to 40 knots here. And that does actually bring very strong winds for the areas north of Miami. You could be seeing 30 to 36 knots. And then here it does strengthen. It looks very organized now. Once it gets to early Monday, it's very organized. And look at this. This thing could potentially become a major tropical storm here. And it's going to be dropping at 987 millibars by the next 108 hours. It can then drop and it can become a major system. Look at this. Very strong wind at 980 millibars. This can possibly bring up to 56 knots. It's going to be absolutely crazy, though. So it's definitely strengthened a lot, but it won't make any landfall. But could definitely bring a very strong wind for the northeastern coast. Now that we looked at that, I want to show you exactly why this thing is going to be one-sided. I actually got to go this way to actually show you guys. For some reason, it only works when it is over here. Let's go ahead and check this out really quickly here. So let me go ahead and look at now. Let's see if I can actually find it. But this is basically showing you exactly why it is going to be one-sided. I actually finally found it. So the reason why it's one-sided, look at this. This is where its environment is. This is the environment where it's forming. Look at all of the moisture. So this is the next, this is actually right now. As we now get the next 12 hours to 18 hours when it finally forms, look at all the moisture to the east of it. That's where it's going to be heading. So it's heading to the east. So it has all of that moisture there. And then as the reason why it's so one-sided, look at this. We saw no precipitation at the start of this. No precipitation to the east of this low pressure system. This is exactly why. We have extremely dry air in the dry atmosphere to the east. We have that's very bad environment for to see thunderstorms and all that rain. But look to the west. We have all that moisture. Then it's exactly why it's going to be one-sided. You basically want to have very moist atmosphere to see actually a tropical system to strengthen. And as you see, the reason why it's strengthening up here is because we have a lot of moisture, and all the dry air is now south of this low pressure system. The center of the low pressure system is right in the all the moisture is. That's exactly why it strengthens, because we have all the energy, but it gets overtaken by dry air. That's exactly why it falls apart. That's exactly why we do have that one-sided system. And then if we actually check out the wind shear as well, it's exactly going to show you the same thing. You're going to be seeing all the shear to the east of this system here, to the low pressure system. All of that shears to the east, to the west, and no wind shear to the east. That's exactly why. It's completely different worlds to the east or to the west of the low pressure system. We have a very favorable environment, and to the east of the low pressure system, we have very little shear and a lot of moisture and even warmer waters. But to the west of the low pressure system, we have a ton of shear and very dry atmosphere. And then we have a lot less shear in this whole area here. So very good environment. We are starting to be seeing a bit more shear in these areas. And then it gets overtaken by this shear, and then it falls apart. And then the last thing we'll be looking at the vorticity. So we have a vorticity signature here in between Florida and Cuba. That's exactly why we have this invest now, and then it becomes a tropical storm here. It's going to be getting very close to the coast of Florida. Could definitely bring some very strong wind gusts throughout the Florida area. And then look at this massive system. This actually looks like a hurricane to me, I'm not gonna lie. But this thing's gonna strengthen. It's gonna be absolutely crazy how fast it strengthens, but getting very close to the North Carolina coast, especially. It's very rare to see something like that at this time of the year to go up the Atlantic coast. Go ahead and check out, actually, let's go back to the winds. If we actually see the winds all the way in the atmosphere, see these wind gusts we'll actually be seeing. So this is actually going to be showing you how strong these wind gusts will be. But that's basically what we're looking at for right now. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. And of course, please share the video in this channel. And of course, I'll have another tropical update tomorrow. Bye, guys.